Hello to you all and welcome to IMPROVATE's and Spacecom's CommuNication Africa 2021 conference. IMPROVATE is a platform for creating long-lasting connections, enabling change makers in technology and decision makers in government. To make progress through innovation, IMPROVATE is all about finding solutions and sparking collaborations that improve the quality of life for people around the world. Spacecom is an international communication service provider and the owners of the Amos satellite fleet. Spacecom's most recent satellite, the Amos 17, is the most advanced satellite available now for Africa. Today we'll be discussing the opportunities for development in African nations and dive into new technologies and satellite-based communication solutions, aiming to enable governments to extend their service reach, drive growth, and advance the African nations in all aspects of life. Joining us today from the United Kingdom is our keynote speaker, Tony Blair. He served as United Kingdom Prime Minister from 1997 until 2007, and today is the founder and chair of the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. Also with us today here in the studio in Tel Aviv is Mrs. Irina Nevzlin, IMPROVATE founder and chair, and our partner in this conference, Mr. Dan Zaitchik, Spacecom CEO, former Israeli Minister of Communication, Mr. Yoaz Hendel, and Jabdi Massima, Tanzanian Ambassador to Israel. Also in this broadcast is Aviv Ronai, VP of Marketing and Product at NovelSat, Ari Snai, Head of International Finance from Bank Leumi, and Mr. Yariv Cohen, CEO of Ignite Power. As always, watching along with us are representatives of investment funds from around the world who are looking to invest in Israeli innovation. Today, more than ever, always-on, high-quality communications are a fundamental requirement for any modern society and economy. Satellite communication enables a wide range of government services like border supervision, post services, and ID issuing through vital services like education, health, employment, and security. When it comes to the deployment of communication infrastructure that connects all areas, urban and rural, to the economic and social centers of the country, satellite stands out as the most reliable enabling infrastructure, and today also as a very cost-effective one. Spacecom is an international communication service provider that specializes in satellite communication and the proprietary owner and operator of the known Amos satellite fleet. Its recent addition, the Amos 17, is an advanced, fully digital and high-throughput satellite designed specifically for Africa's unique and growing needs. Operating since 1992, the company has built a strong standing as an innovator in its field and serves as a service to partner its customers, providing satellite connectivity services, managed services, professional services, and turnkey solution. Let's take a look.
Like breathing, connectivity is a basic human need. That's exactly why the UN has declared internet connection a basic human right. Especially in times like these, connection is what makes us grow. It gives us meaning and lets us be a part of something bigger than ourselves, part of a nation. Spacecom is proud to be a part of the effort to empower African nations to connect, and very proud to present Digital Community Platform, or DCP, a practical and sustainable solution to your country's digital transformation plans, including remote and less accessible regions. Combining connectivity, Wi-Fi, local cloud, content, and OTT in a simple and innovative way. Using Spacecom's brand new and advanced satellite, Amos 17, specifically designed for Africa's needs, DCP provides a turnkey solution, which enables a complete arsenal of services. Government services, health, education, commerce and payments, agriculture, and of course, home use and entertainment. DCP, Digital Community Platform, scalable, sustainable, flexible, available now for rapid deployment.
Now we want to move on to our next panel and discuss in depth how satellite communication technologies affect and enable advanced government services and how it is essential for every nation, especially developing countries.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
Okay, welcome back. I want to welcome here in the studio Oren Tepper, Spacecom SVP Global Sales, Aviv Ronai, VP Marketing and Product at NovelSat, the Ambassador and Special Envoy of Ethiopia to Israel, Mr. Reda Nega Alemu, Mr. Eran Shapiro, Director of Technology and Business Ventures at Spacecom, Mr. Avraham Kofi Asante, CEO of Ghana Investment Funds for Electronic Communications, will join us, Dr. Solomon Balai, Minister Advisor to the Ministry of Innovation and Technology in Ethiopia, Mr. Abdissa Yilma, Head of Ethiopian Space, Science and Technology Institute, and Mr. Adrian Hall, Chief Operating Officer at Extensia. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this panel today. I'd like to give a special welcome to Professor Mamour Chole, Director General for Accreditation, Private and Foreign Higher Education Institutions in the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So this was the year in which the world witnessed, due to the global COVID pandemic, how important it is to have strong communication infrastructures to enable remote learning. Even in places where schools are connected to internet infrastructure, students find it difficult and in many locations impossible to connect and continue their education from home. How did South Sudan deal with its educational challenges during the recent pandemic?
Thank you very much. As you put it, in fact, the importance of communication technology in education has been recognized prior to the dawning of COVID-19. Now, South Sudan, which is now described as a low-tech country, has a lot of difficulties when it comes to discharging education services during COVID-19. And in fact, the good news that we received at the beginning of the year is that the fiber optic cable connection has reached South Sudan. And therefore, our objective is to connect all these areas in South Sudan with fast internet connections that will enable us to discharge our education responsibilities. What we did as a low-tech country is that we decided to identify our needs. What are really our needs at this time? And one of the issues that we recognize is that we need to combine both offline as well as online, because in some occasions you still need some sort of face-to-face interaction, because using only internet and simulation programs and all these other communication or high-tech program may not be enough, to teach students in some specialization like medicine, engineering, and all these things. So with this, we decided to do both of them, combine offline as well as online. As you put it correctly, the country is not really well covered with internet connection as well as communication, etc. So we encourage all the universities to open centers all around these remote areas. And that will enable students to use these centers. And these centers were all connected with photocopy machines, computer laboratories, internet, television screen, radios, pre-recorded material, as well as facilities that the students can use. And because of this low internet, sometimes downloading and uploading material is not easy. So it is a chance for these students to avoid them congregating in one places or in main campuses. It is a chance for them to photocopy materials, to access internet, receive handout, connect to the main content, and then get interacted with their tutors and their lecturers, wherever they may be. In towns where there is higher institutions, then we did some kind of memorandum of understanding between all these universities that students from one university can use facilities of other universities, just to avoid students moving around during COVID-19. Again, also, we observed that some facilities like smartphones, WhatsApp, Messenger, Zoom, web binders are really very important, especially when we discharge our education services. And therefore, all the universities encourage students to do so, to have, you see, any of these facilities and get connected to either centers or to the university campus where they can receive information on a regular basis. Universities also were instructed to digitalize books and material in their libraries, because that will help students who are in remote areas to get access to these materials through the established centers. And we are still moving on to encourage, you see, establishment of more centers in all the remote areas. Though all this, there is a lot of challenges. As I mentioned earlier, network connectivity is one of the challenges because there is no network coverage to all over the country. Again, also, most of our staff are not really well trained in using offline and online facilities. And therefore, that one, training of teachers so that they cope up with the new responsibilities, is one of the challenges we are facing at the moment. We also felt that there is a need for mobilizing resources and availing funds to sponsor all these activities, because all these activities cannot move on smoothly without having funds. Sending people down to do some small lectures, face-to-face lectures, as well as providing these materials, need a lot of investment. So these are the few steps that we have taken, and we are still moving on to improve all these experiences as the country now taking this issue of online and building of infrastructure, online infrastructure, is as a priority. So we are still moving on, improving our system so that we keep on providing education services to our students wherever they are. Thank you very much.
All right, keep up with the good work. Professor Chol, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, let's move now to Mr. Abraham Kofi Asante, CEO of Ghana Investment Funds for Electronic Communications. Thank you for joining us.
In Ghana, I run the Universal Access Fund for connectivity to unserved and underserved communities. And for that matter, satellite communication is one of the very important facilities that we need for us to reach the underserved and also to give them fast and prompt connectivity. We have been involved in the deployment of the satellite technology, one, to provide data services and also to provide voice for rural communities. We have areas that have very difficult terrain, where when you use the traditional terrestrial technology of line of sight, you are unable to reach such communities. It therefore puts them in a position of disadvantage, where they cannot be part of the knowledge society, or they cannot receive medical services as those in the urban areas, and where connectivity is very easy to be made. So for us, satellite connectivity has become one of our key provisions in providing connectivity solutions for both data and voice for many rural communities, and especially for those who are in very difficult terrains. And we have deployed a number of them. In some areas, we have sited connectivity for clinics, that is for medical services, and it is working very, very effectively, especially in the western northern part of Ghana, where we have very difficult terrains. These have been deployed. We also have areas which we call the overseas, far away from the center from the urban areas. We have also deployed for them in the area of provision of educational facilities. As of now, we can identify not less than 46 communities that are benefiting from our satellite hub, because Ghana owns a satellite hub which is managed by Disengov. And we believe strongly that if we go that trajectory and be able to solve the problem of getting finances where we can have more space, pitches, then we can be able to provide good services for these people. So I think the challenge that we have is funding. If we have enough funding, then we can have more space segments and we'll be able to give them broadband services in these areas. Because of this limitation, some of these rural communities have only voice services where they do not have data because we don't have enough to buy the bandwidth that they need. And we think that working from that perspective, we are looking forward for collaborations with other organizations that will help us expand our connectivity for these underserved and unserved areas through satellite connectivity.
Sir, we have mentioned education as a significant topic to be addressed by governments. What is the role and ability of organizations such as yours to enable solutions facing this great challenge?
I think the solution for these challenges is for us to receive some government funding. You know, the Universal Service Fund takes 1% of net revenue from the telcos or the mobile network operators and other ISPs. However, we think that if we can have some kind of collaboration from development partners and government would also assign some funding for this purpose, it would help us to be able to resolve some of these issues. Because, you know, like we always mention, the young people in these areas cannot wait. And as much as they do not have connectivity, especially in this time of COVID, it cuts them totally off. And it also is a disincentive for investors who want to be in the rural areas and have some work done. We have a lot of small, medium enterprises that really shy out from establishing their factories or facilities in such areas. And it puts some kind of deprivation on people in the area in terms of even getting employment. But I think that the solution, like I mentioned, is for more collaborative effort between government and then development partners to observe that we have a lot of the population out there who are deprived because of connectivity.
All right, Mr. Asante, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Ghana. We really appreciate it.
I also appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, it's time to turn to Oren Tepper. Hi, Oren. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So, Oren, as Spacecom's SVP of Global Sales, it seems you are in a perfect position. On the one side, you're meeting the growing demands coming from the African markets. On the other side, you are always at the front edge of technology. We just heard about, the Republic of South Sudan, educational challenges, as well as a handful of other countries. On a nationwide level, how does the Amos 17, Spacecom's newest satellite, alongside Spacecom's new services, the DCP, as mentioned earlier by your CEO, Dan, who was with us, how do they help countries such as South Sudan and other African nations achieve the educational needs that we were just discussing?
Thank you, Lauren, for having us here. So actually, the DCP platform, or Digital Community Platform, is an infrastructure to enable e-learning and educational services, both online and offline, by the way, as Professor Chol mentioned before that, for the children. But let's not forget that the same platform can be used also for train the teachers, which is not less important. And this is also a challenge, as Professor Chol mentioned just before. So moreover, actually the nature of satellite communication, the benefit of that is that the scalability is achieved naturally within the solution. This is very important in order to deliver, unified services across a nation, and while maintaining nearly the same cost. So actually, the cost to deliver this solution to dozens of communities is it's nearly the same as the cost of delivery to thousands of communities or the nationwide. So the solutions that we are talking about is not cost prohibitive, which is very important. Also considering the challenges of getting the funding, as was mentioned just before.
So overall, how can modern satellite communication help with connectivity throughout a country? What are the benefits of your NationSat services over Africa?
So I think one of the inherent benefits of satellite is the unified coverage across the entire territory of a nation. Or in other words, it's ubiquity. Okay? So when you think about that, this is the optimal infrastructure to deliver all the sort of governmental services, being it e-health or e-learning, financial services, and even broadcasting to the communities. I cannot think about a better solution or a better method to guarantee that every citizen within a nation will be awarded or guaranteed with the same level of governmental services, irrespective to his proximity to the urban areas. This is one of the main challenges that large-scale countries in Africa are experiencing today. So this is actually the beauty of all what we are talking about here, of all this conference. Okay, we are taking this vision into the practical stage, okay, rather than keep it just in the vision level. So, in that sense, it's very important. This is, I think, what actually Spacecom is trying to do with this digital community platform.
Wonderful. Oren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on now. NovelSat is an international innovator and a leading provider of next-generation content connectivity solutions over satellite powered. Powered by innovative technology, NovelSat solutions are pushing the envelope and boosting network performance in order to drive new experiences and expand business potential. Aviv Ronai is NovelSat's Vice President of Marketing and Product, and he joins us now. Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, Aviv, go ahead and tell us a bit more about NovelSat.
Okay. NovelSat provides a leading content connectivity solution serving both the video broadcast and the broadband connectivity markets. If we can move to the next slide, we can see some of the applications that we serve. We focus on high volume and high value application. And as for example, on the broadcast side, we provide video distribution and contribution solutions, content delivery network connectivity, and outdoor broadcasting. On the broadband connectivity side, we support applications such as telecom and enterprise solutions, as well as video over cellular networks and other applications like supporting Earth observation satellite. We have thousands of installations serving hundreds of customers, supporting multiple customers around the globe, and we are actually, all of us are consuming services delivered by NovelSat solution, as for example, world's major sports events are being delivered relying on NovelSat solutions. Our leadership foundation are actually based on three components. One is our proprietary waveform and premier system architecture, which deliver the world's highest performance transmission. This is coupled and combined with cutting-edge integrated video capabilities and highest content connectivity and protection. Moving on to the next slide.
All right, let's move on to the next question.
Slide.
What broadband solutions are you providing, and what's unique about your solutions?
Great question. We actually support broadband connectivity solution for multiple applications. We support actually telecom application and delivering connectivity to rural and remote locations which are lacking terrestrial network connectivity. We enable that with both point-to-point and point-to-multipoint application, and we provide highest bandwidth efficiency in order to improve network economics. We also support enterprise connectivity for utilities, infrastructure, and for government services, where we bring broadband connectivity to remote and rural area, as well as enabling high-speed access to cloud infrastructure and services. Speaking of cloud infrastructure and services, we provide pioneering, open and flexible cloud connectivity solution in order to streamline data connectivity to satellite solutions.
So, Aviv, your technology connects to satellites like the AMO 17 to bring cellular and broadband services to unserved or undeserved areas, correct?
Correct. More than that, we also provide satellite connectivity solution in order to provide communication during some disasters or emergency situation, like natural events and disaster, which causes terrestrial network outage. In such cases, we utilize satellite connectivity in order to back up the terrestrial network and restore communication services as quickly as possible.
You've also recently announced a unique solution for delivering TV services over cellular networks. What is so special about this service for the people of Africa?
This is a very special solution where we actually took our broadband and broadcast expertise and blended them together in order to deliver video and TV services over a mobile network. We actually all want to have our own video experience, like we watch TV at home. We want to have it everywhere. And today, more than ever, our first screen, if not the only screen, for which we use to connect and consume video and TV services is our mobile devices. And we would like to deliver these services over our mobile devices. We're doing that by taking the content delivery network to the edge, to the base station location, bringing the video closer to subscribers and enabling this kind of unlimited video services to the users. With that, we enable live services as well as on-demand video services at very high volumes, and we improve the quality of experience of the end users.
Sounds extremely innovative. Is this new solution already available?
This solution is actually already available and will be available actually within a month's time. And we actually already demonstrated that together with our colleagues at Spacecom. We had a real live demonstration of the end-to-end service in action.
Wonderful. Aviv Ranai, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, moving on now to the Ambassador and Special Envoy of Ethiopia to Israel, Mr. Reda Nega Alemu. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, thank you again for coming to another IMPROVATE conference. I had to add that in there. So Ethiopia is clearly a very special country and quite centralized when it comes to communication based on what we've seen and heard today and your knowledge of Ethiopian regulation. I invite you to present a challenge that your country is facing and might be solved or improved by these panel guests.
Well, Ethiopia has adopted a space and telecommunication policy, and we have identified the challenges that we have in that regard. And it's outlined that the major challenges that we have, one is regard to the capabilities in terms of lack of skilled human resources in this context, and also space technology capability as a whole, which is also one of the challenges that we have, and weak space infrastructure and absence of regulatory framework in this regard. And in addressing this challenge, the policy has outlined, the opportunities and what are the way out in terms of addressing this challenge. One, it is clearly stated in the policy that we need an organized 3 layers solution. And this one, it refers to basic framework in which we build an infrastructure development for communication and satellite services. And also, in terms of manpower, we need manpower training and capacity building in that regard. And we have to create enabling conditions at domestic level to make sure that there is an efficient and effective utilization of the space technology at home for telecommunication services, for agriculture, for education, and for also other services that we can use in terms of the space technology services.
So based on what you have heard today, how accessible and affordable is satellite communication? And do you think Ethiopia should plan to invest in satellite communication in the future?
Yes. Ethiopia has adopted, as I said, an ambitious and competent space program. We've launched 2 satellites in the past year, and we continue to work in more concerted way to be able to develop our capacities. One thing which we need collaboration in this regard is, financing and investment in the sector, which the government has introduced, the public-private partnership, where we have investment opportunities in all sectors. We collaborate with our partners to develop our capability in this regard.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, quickly, I wonder if, Oren, you'd like to respond to any of the comments you just heard.
So this is actually what I was mentioning before. Definitely, the Ethiopian market is one of the most important market that we are experiencing, and we do see that there is, as His Excellency mentioned, there is a great initiatives and policy going over there. And indeed, this is something that I share actually the same views exactly as His Excellency in this regard.
All right, Aviv, would you like to take an opportunity to respond as well?
No, I think the issue is pretty much understood, and we all hope for more and more satellite services to enable more and more video and broadband connectivity to
Wonderful.
Africa.
So it looks like everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on now to Mr. Abdissa Yilma, head of the Ethiopian Space Science Institute, ESSI. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting us to participate on such important event.
So, what are the main goals of the Ethiopian Space Science Institute?
Ethiopian Space Science and Technology Institute was established in 2016. So it's just 4 years since its establishment. So my institute is a leading institute in terms of space science, technology, and application. So the major goal of the institute is to support the National Development Program in the area of agriculture, natural resource management, urban and rural land management, and also in the area of communication also. And well, at the end of the day, we are also expected to serve as a source of income and also to create employment opportunity through encouraging private sector participation. So for this purpose, we are engaged in research and technology development activities in the area of astronomy, space science and application, remote sensing, geodesy, also on in the area of aerospace engineering, satellite operation, and so on. We are also trying to develop infrastructure in this area. Also, we are responsible for human resource development. In this respect, we have a postgraduate program in the area of astronomy, space science application, remote sensing and geodesy, both for masters and the PhD. And this program is affiliated with the Addis Ababa University. And we are also engaged on the development of space and space-related products and services.
Sir, we heard in a previous interview about the benefits of utilizing a satellite on a national level. Can you share with us the role of science and innovation and any programs that you have going on in the country?
Yeah. So far, we launched 2 remote sensing satellites in collaboration with the Chinese government. These satellites are remote Earth observation satellites. So the data obtained from those satellites, we are utilizing it for agriculture, water resource management, and in the area of mining and so on. Currently, we are also building, apart from the 2 satellites, currently we are also building a multi-satellite ground receiving station for Earth observation satellites. So, and this project is expected to start operation by March this year. And we have also a plan to build satellite manufacturing, assembly and the testing center in the country. And we have also a plan to build our own communication satellites. Maybe, we are expecting to realize this project within the next 3 to 4 years time. We are also engaged in the development of the next, Earth observation satellite. These are the areas that we're engaged on.
All right, Mr. Yilma, thank you so much and best of luck with all your initiatives.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, moving now to the UK. Let's welcome Extentia Limited's Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Adrian Hall. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Lauren. Nice to join you, and thanks to Amos and to IMPROVATE for inviting me to join this.
Very happy to have you. Program. Now, Extentia has been working with the governments of Africa for many years. You are well connected and actively involved in new initiatives. Can you share with us Extentia's technologic vision, and why do you find satellite communication as a state resource to be an accelerator for national development?
Sure, thanks, Lauren. Extensia, as you say, we've worked in many countries across Africa. Our focus is on sustainable development at a national level across the continent. We believe that the best way to achieve this is through through a robust e-government strategy and program. E-government is the foundation for digital transformation. It supports business enablement, citizen engagement, and transparency across government agencies at a local level, at a national level, and regionally as well. There's some exciting technology platforms that support e-government, and these are enabled and supported by cloud infrastructure, which makes the applications more affordable, more efficient, more innovative in terms of collaboration, etc. But we also notice that the solution itself is only part of the problem. The technology platforms only serve to solve a part of the problem with e-government, because you've also got to look at literacy, you've got to look at availability of devices, you've got to look at things like affordability. Critical, though, to the success of any e-government program is connectivity. There's a very interesting map that if you look at the true size of Africa, you can see a map which illustrates exactly how big Africa is as a continent. And within Africa, you could fit China, the US, India, Japan, Eastern Europe, and most of Western Europe. And that gives you an idea of actually how big Africa is. And whilst the urban areas are where a lot of people do live, there's also a large portion of Africa and people that live in rural, more remote areas. And those areas need to be connected for the whole of e-government to be efficient. And for that to happen, there's only really satellite that can provide that. It's unaffordable to be putting towers, fiber, and other infrastructure into those rural areas with sparse population. So satellite really is the way to make that happen, and very efficient at doing that. With the new satellites in the market now, the speeds, the bandwidths, the affordability, and the reliability are much improved to the old satellite versions that we saw in previous years.
Mr. Hall, Africa is known for its Big Five. Can you point out the Big Five in digital communication areas that will shine thanks to the new satellite solutions like Spacecom, NationSat, and DCP, the Digital Community Platform?
Sure, Lauren. For me and for Extensia, the Big Five areas where improvements can be made across the continent and will have the greatest impact include healthcare, for instance, where, again, with healthcare, many clinics are out in very remote areas. So they'll benefit hugely from satellite. And as we see with the COVID pandemic, it's essential that everywhere data is collected from across all areas of a country, for the digital healthcare platforms to be efficient and gather the right levels of data and information. That connectivity is essential to the most remote areas. Education is another key area, and again, looking at here and now, lots of children are not going to school at the moment. They can't go to school physically, and unless they can access that online, education suffers, and that will have a long-term effect. So having satellite, having the platforms for education enabled and delivered over satellite connectivity means that education can get into the most remote areas and have the biggest impact across each country. Agriculture is another area. You've got smallholders and farmers in remote areas that need to know where they can go in order to sell their goods or to buy goods or to transact. And they need connectivity as well as the applications that will enable them to get that information. So again, satellite is essential for that. And it's also essential for helping them to see and predict weather patterns and crop rotations and things like that are essential areas where satellite can support. Emergency services are required not always where there's a mobile phone connectivity or where there's a fiber connectivity. Emergency services can happen anywhere, and there needs to be connectivity that supports that. And finally, I think disaster relief has to be taken into consideration, because disaster relief, refugee zones, etc., are again in remote areas. And the thing with disaster relief is it happens when it happens. You don't necessarily have the network already there waiting for it, whereas satellite is there ready and can be turned on instantly. So for me, top 5: healthcare, education, agriculture, emergency services, and disaster relief.
All right, some very important points. Adrian Hall, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's turn to Eran Shapiro. Hello, Eran. Thank you so much again for being with us.
Thank you, Lauren. Nice to be here.
Sometimes the key elements for success rely on the actual details that build the right solutions. Which tech ingredient in Spacecom's new DCP digital community platform makes it so accessible for Africa?
Sure. I think what we heard today, there are a number of issues when you're trying to meet the challenges that are mentioned about education, health, and so on. The two main aspects that put, let's say, a high challenge level is the availability of electricity, which in rural Africa is below 20%, and the connectivity, which is also very low. So if you look at what needs to be deployed per community or per village or per small city, first, the deployment cost could be extremely high if you're looking at technologies that were available until now, especially when you're trying to duplicate that for a large number of communities. There's also the perception that the ongoing cost of connectivity via satellite could be high. There's the deployment complexity in terms of technology skills and the management of such deployments. And there's the time to market that governments are saying, okay, if I'm going now into a project, how long will it take for it to be accessible and usable by the population? So what we've done is, together with multiple partners, some of them are speaking today here, we've built a unified platform that can actually serve multiple applications at the same time. At the core of the platform, which is residing in each community, there are 4 components. First is the connectivity via satellite. The second is the local cloud, which reside in the community. The third is the Wi-Fi hotspot connectivity within the community. And the fourth, which is very important, especially when you go over grid, is a solar panel, a solar powered solution that allows all these services to be delivered without having the need for local electricity. Now, what makes it accessible is the development of new technologies that we have coupled that together with a very powerful, very advanced satellite in the form of MS-17. So the combination of both the ground technologies and the satellite connectivity allows us to provide this unified solution with a very cost-effective, sustainable manner in the short and the long run. And some of these ingredients are including like advanced solar systems. In the past, when you're looking at solar systems, they used to be very expensive on one hand. They were not providing too much capacity on the other hand, and they had a very short lifespan. New technology allows us to have cheaper solution that lasts much longer and can power such an encompassing solution per community. There is also a sector-specific solution that we are building with our partners. For example, if you look at a digital clinic, so one thing is you want everything to be connected and always on, but the second part is if you want to have advanced systems like ultrasound on X-ray locally at those remote locations, they have to be very power efficient in order to be able to work off the solar system. So all of that, you have to take that into account when you build such an encompassing solution. And when you want to deliver content that can reside locally on the local cloud, you have to do it in a very efficient manner. And we have developed, with some of our partners, a very efficient way of delivering content to any number of locations in a very cost-effective manner. Now, the last thing which we should bear in mind that if you want to make it accessible to the people living in the suburban and the rural location, it has to be very simple because many of the population in these areas are lacking in digital skills. So we have to make the solution also very simple to use for those type of populations as well.
So, Iran, how scalable is the DCP for governments in terms of the planning of the solution and the ability to quickly deploy and see quick results?
Actually, it's very scalable. And I think one of the key points that we have discussed with our partners, it was apparent that when governments are considering going into such projects that digitally transform those locations, they regard scalability, flexibility, and quick deployment as the key factors in what solution to select and how this can be deployed. So what we've made sure is that we build the platform to make it simple first in the deployment phase, because deployment could be very complex, especially here like Northwest Ghana. It's hard to get to those places. Right. So the deployment itself should be as simple as possible. It should be simple to operate on an ongoing basis. And the platform itself, besides the simplicity to deploy it, is also scalable in two manners. First, in the community, once you have the building blocks or the infrastructure, it's very simple to add additional application, additional services that can be delivered within the community. The second part is how scalable is the system when you're going nationwide and you want to handle thousands of locations. How the backend of all the system that has to be used for that can grow, how scalable they are. So what we made sure is first that we can handle thousands of locations on one hand, and this includes, beside the distribution of content to any number of sites like 30, 300 or 3,000, like Oren mentioned earlier, this is agnostic to us. The solution is designed that it will be almost unlimited in size on that manner. Mm-hmm. And the second part is that the backend, that now you want the backend to be able to support education or health. So if you go to health, you need now, if you go digital, you need a medical record per patient. You need a way to keep the history. This needs to reside both in the local cloud, but also in the main cloud of the government. So the system at the backend should be able to support it. Same thing if you want now to monitor the progress of students using some e-education systems at the village, or even doing some homeschooling with our solution. This is also something that has to be very scalable. So we made that as well. And last but not least, you also need to have a lot of internet capabilities or internet capacity to be able to support all of that. With the MS-17 unique design of a very strong coverage per country, you can have a lot of capacity. This will allow governments to deploy such solutions without having to care about the size and the number of locations, it will be able to support all of that.
Interesting. Eran Shapira, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, before we end this conference, I'd like to welcome again Dan Zaitchik, CEO of Spacecom. Dan, thank you for returning to speak to us once again.
Thank you, Lauren.
So CommuNication Africa 2021 was a very exciting event. Africa is ready to continue its advancements in the field of communication, and we all concluded today that it is the right timing and moment to introduce new innovative solutions. Spacecom is enabling countries to take over the African opportunity with its advanced satellite and digital community platform, the DCP. As the CEO of the company, no doubt you are excited regarding the future. How would you like to conclude this day?
I think that we had an excellent day. I think that, as we saw, we covered 360 degrees with different stakeholders. We saw the government perspective, the regulators, the suppliers, and also the users themselves. We understand that the challenge across Africa is real and provides a huge opportunity for companies in the tech, in the communication, but the most important is to bring something that will be scalable for fast deployment to have the impact. And now it's accelerating due to the pandemic. So time to market is really an important issue. And for us, the solution that we introduced, the DCP, is covering this entire needs. And it's very flexible, it's very dedicated and very focused for the needs of the governments and for the nations and the people themselves. I think that it was a great day, and we are very excited to do this implementation and to have a real impact over the African community.
Great. Thank you, Dan, and thank you to all the guests on our panel today in studio and, of course, joining us from abroad on Zoom. That's it from IMPROVATE's and Spacecom's CommuNication Africa 2021 conference. We've heard today from the Honorable Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, distinguished ministers and ambassadors from Mali, South Sudan, Gabon, Libreville, Ghana, the Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and Sierra Leone, and from our partners in this conference, Spacecom. We also want to thank NationSat, Ignite, and Bank Leumi. IMPROVATE is all about access and connections, exposing Israeli tech leaders to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation. The exposure right here at this conference is a first step. The next step, delegations and real business connections. We want to thank you all for taking part and hope this is just the start of doing business together, making technology accessible to all and improving the lives of people across the world. Keep an eye out for IMPROVATE's next conference, CyberSec, presenting cutting-edge Israeli cyber technologies to the Gulf on February 11th. I'm Lauren Izzo. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that is all we have.
Sitting in a tin can.